You
All
know,
right,
we're at
it's
DQ,
preparing.
we're gonna head out, that walk. They're gonna make medicine bags for some of the people. And the word got out. He looked over here, either about 100 people standing. He had somebody cut leather pieces. He ran out of medicine, so he had a molder.
Okay, I think we are live.
So passing them out.
Are we behind?
Everybody's
No,
going
we're
out with
live. We're good.
molders,
Oh, we're live.
Yeah.
So,
We're good.
We must be about 30 seconds behind.
Yeah, I can cut that out.
Okay,
Yep, and you're good.
I'm good.
Yep.
How me daku yapi? Chante washtena pe chuja papalo. Makasi tomni le yuha kina huka honkichi yapi. Ake hochoka elokina shi. Good day, good afternoon, all my relatives. I greet everybody with a good heart and a handshake today. We come here to remember what it means to be a good relative again to each other and to everything in this universe. We come here to have we come here with a good message for all the people who are listening in. Just want to introduce myself real quickly. My name's Mike and Nikki. My Lakota name is Oyate Hotanin. He walks with the dream. I'm a Sichangu Lakota from Rosebud, South Dakota, and also a member of the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians. So this is part 2 in a series of presentations with Oyate Hotanin has done with Richard Mooskamp. And if you haven't listened to the first one, please go to Oyate Hotanin's page and like and follow their page on Facebook. And I want to thank Oyate Hotanin for hosting these talks, as well as being the voice for the people, bringing opportunities to the people to come together in peace and harmony and to learn old, new information again for the betterment of ourselves, and people, our community, tribes, and our nations. So without further ado, let me introduce Wichakpi Koyaga Hokshila. He wears the stars. His name's Richard Mooskamp, and he's a 5th generation Lakota healer, a highly respected elder, tribal historian, and spiritual leader. He's the great-great-grandson of Watuka Chips, and he's the Wichashwakan who provided Tashuka Wiko, Crazy Horse, with guidance and medicines of protection. He's a tribal authority on Lakota history, culture, and religion based on 5 generations of ancestral family memory and a living oral tradition. Mr. Mooskamp and his family have been pivotal in the preservation and revitalization of Lakota religion and spirituality throughout the 20th century. He's a well-known and highly respected elder amongst our people. Richard would have what we would call a PhD or even an MD in our Indigenous way of life. He holds a master's degree in mental health counseling with an emphasis in behavioral health from Sinte Glushka University. So in other words, he's a success in both worlds and someone I highly admire as a human being and practitioner of our traditional Lakota ways. He holds the belief that the mind is sacred and that maintaining a sacred life includes caring for one's own mind as well as one's own spirit. So I will just have Crystal turn the camera towards Richard Mooskamp, and thank you for joining us.
okay. Good afternoon. Abetuashte relatives. I'm very honored and very happy to be here today with the relatives. And once again, we come together to share stories with our relatives today. We've come a long way from the time back in the old days, from 1800s to today. In the modern world we live today, our ancestors have blessed us. They took care of us today. Many generations, our people struggles and our people also had a happy life. So it was kind of a mixture of different life that our ancestors, but they had a dream back in the 1800s. All of the old people, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, they had a strong warrior hambale, that in the future, the Oyate would fit into the society. We have a place in society that we can raise our children and still be indigenous way of life, indigenous people, and still be in the modern world where many lives come together, multicultural community. There's a place for us. Today we have our children. Even though 100 years ago, the federal policy was never friendly to the Indians, our people managed to struggle and make adjustments into the cultural world. So today, the federal policy turned into something good at the end. I went to an Indian boarding school, Carlisle, to visit some of the relatives that were still buried over there. But back in the old days, when our children were taken from their homes to sent them to school, it was a major decision. Our people could have fought to the end, protecting their children from taken from their home. They could have went to war again, but they didn't. They decided that a dream in the future, our children will finish school and fit into a modern world. That dream never died. Even some of our children had passed away and been buried over there. The dream came true. So 100 years later, those children came back to the land that they have left. But they didn't know that they were going to come back to an Indian college, Indian schools. And many Indian children had finished their education. Their dream didn't die. So at the end, it teaches us to look deep within ourselves. When our children were coming home, all the people, all walks of life, had stand on the roads welcoming them home to the Rosebud Reservation. And that we will take better care of our children. And we will be able to define a good way of life for our children today. And it really brings a deep spiritual journey within everybody that had witnessed that. That our ancestors, from the beginning of the time, even when they brought the Chanumpa over, and all of our ceremonies, the children had some rights from beginning of time. The children have a right to a family. I gave instructions to the people. The children have a right to a mother. The children have a right to a father. The children have a right to ceremony, right to receive a name that's very sacred. Children have a right to be children and be happy. Children have a right to live in a safe environment of what they call a natural law. The education meant something else to our people 100 years ago. They made us forget those natural laws, and we used the Western laws that were forced on us. But today, we're able to go back and pick up them old laws. Every family should continue to pick up them old traditional laws, and they integrate into the circle of life so that the children will live a happy, good life. Also, the woman nation, have some rights of the indigenous world. After all, it was a woman that brought us the Chanumpa. So before the Chanumpa was brought, it was the women that we listened to, and they tell us, we pray, we worship the spirit of the Wiyang. The sweat lodge represents the Wiyang. The Hunkat Khompi represents the Wiyang. The wiping of the tears came from a Wiyang. Making relatives, the conflict resolutions. We have the biggest ceremony that was given to us for the purpose of resolving conflict. They call it Wahonopa. Wahonopa was given to us by a Wiyang and later turned into a buffalo and disappeared. Over the years, the name Wahonopa was changed. They made it simplify the name, they call it Chanumpa. But the original name for it, back in the 1800s, whenever that Chanumpa came, it was called Wahonopa, the voice of two worlds. One of those voices was for the prosperity and the life ways of our children. And then the other one was to bring peace, resolve conflict, because there will be conflict in our nations, natural thing that we live by. Over the years, we kind of forgot that purpose. So from time to time, one of the ceremonies that went away, that we never do it anymore. Even the major prominent pipe carriers forgot. Major Wakawichasha, the medicine man, has not shared that information. Right about this time, Wasuthui or Chokshiri's right. The Wiyang used to come together and they pray with the Chanumpa. The last time they've ever did that was in 1918. A few women came together, noble women, the ones that have indigenous thought and life ways. They came out of the woodwork and they feel the Chanumpa and they pray for simple things like the illnesses that's taken the lives away, the children that are killing themselves, the families that fell apart. A simple prayer. But what was told to us back then was, no one knows how deep a woman's prayer goes. Nobody knows a woman's prayer can reach the bottom of the ocean or to the Creator God's doorstep. It is only the woman's role in society that when they Chanumpa, they put all things away and they pray. And that power still is with us today, but we just don't do it anymore. We weren't told. But when you put everything in the right perspective, I think that with a few people prayed together, the COVID that's been taken over our life is a spirit of that COVID. We believe that the spirit of COVID, the COVID illness has a spirit in it. And it has a name. We knew it's been around for thousands of years. It's nothing new, the COVID-19, the major illness. And that bad spirit is called Wishonte. He came back around again. He was here in 1918, took away a lot of lives, broke families. He showed up again nationally, internationally, locally. The COVID. The COVID is a message that he came here collecting people that are not ready. It took them home. Wishonte is like a bad spirit that goes everywhere. He puts himself into some of the food that we love. He puts himself into the beverage where people drink. He puts himself into the network where people talk. And he makes himself gossip. He makes himself into everything that you can possibly be scared of. Well, hey, he's still here. And he's not going to go away that easy. The only way it will go away is people pray. People will check it together. Right? So when people pray, the Wions should come together and pray. And then everything will be all right. We'll get a better path and better directions. That we don't, and that bad spirit goes everywhere. As you walk in a journey, you'll come across, you might come across, I'll just use that as an example. You might come across a golden leaf laying on the ground. And you look at it, and it's got different colors, but it's a leaf from the tree that fell. And then you pick up that leaf and you say, what a beautiful leaf. And you hold it to your heart. You might share it with different relatives. But you didn't realize that that leaf is a dead leaf. He's only pretending to be alive. And he's got your attention. The pretense, Wichoganan, Wishot is relative, is called Wichoganan. Wichoganan lies to us, the false pretenses that float in the air. The Wishot is behind that, he's a relative. That he makes himself beautiful. And it's like a golden leaf. You stop and you pick it up. You see an alcohol, beer, nice and cold, or you might see a pack of cigarettes, beautiful cigarettes, or anything. The food that's dangerous to us, he makes himself beautiful like a golden leaf, so we pick it up. We found out that it wasn't really nice for us in the first place. The false pretense that floats in the air. And in our journey, there's a lot of things like that. But if you follow this false pretense, it's the Wichonte at the end laughing at you. So when we have a spiritual guidance in our way of life, we got to protect our children. We got to protect what is, we have to define what is love mean to us. It's been written down and forced on us, so we believe it the way it was written. With the indigenous world, the real reality of Wa'iotakila, the translation of God is Daku Wa'Iotawala. Go ahead, our children, that was it. So the West flag, that black powerful color that represents our children, we have to recognize those rights of our children, not only our own, but our relative nieces and nephews. One of the things that's important is give our grandchildren, children, Lakota name, or the Lakota prayer. Some children grow up without a father. Our ceremonies are made for us to, our children can have a Honka father, Honka sister, Honka grandma. So when you lose a loved one, it doesn't end there. Nititaka was use yashik. There's so many relatives that you can adopt and still continue to take care of them like you would have when the real relative, your biological relative, leaves the world. So in the modern world we live in, we see Mother's Day, we see Father's Day, we see birthdays, and then many of our relatives say, "Oh, I don't like those days because it reminds me of my mom, reminds me of my relatives. I don't like those holidays." But it doesn't have to be that way. The golden leaf, let go that golden leaf away from you because a new one will come. Adopt new ceremonial, take advantage of the ceremony. Adopt a dad, adopt a father, adopt a grandma. Well, that's what Honka ceremony was all about. So we need to take some of those old teachings and move forward. It was a great day the other day when the children came home to the reservation. They went away far away. It was a sad day, but it was also a great day. Recently discovering of relatives that died. They found the remains in Canada. They found there's some still unaccounted for Indian children in America. So we're devastated or emotionally touched. It moved us. We look at our own children and say, "Oh, I want to take better care of my children." The recent news and the concerns about missing women and missing children murdered, it really puts us in a different place of sadness. But when you look deep inside the concept of Wahonupa, you take a look at that again. Creator God never left our sight. Those children's spirit already went home when they died over there. When they were buried in Carlisle, for example, those children left already. They went to the spirit world and they came back into this world twice, had another human experience and went on again. But their bones and remains came 100 years later, they came back to heal the relatives, heal the public, to heal the eyes of the people, that what is written is not always the way it is. They came back to a positive, a good part of life so that the children will continue school and children will continue the indigenous teachings as well. So today we're really blessed that we can define and write and understand the concept of education. It's not one-sided, it's a holistic. We learn to raise our children in a very sacred way. So Wakantanka took all those children's spirit home to a safe, cleaned them, he took care of them, probably sent them back into this world already. And they're probably elders. The circle of life never ends. A lot of us, we didn't know these things. So when a relative dies, we carry a pain for generations and generations. But the teachings of the Wahonupa takes us deeper than what it is. Life will be better. But take care of our Chanupa and ourselves. We are like the trees. This is about the season when every place else there's sun dances. That one of the most important part of the sun dance is the tree. The people carry it and they put beautiful cloth colors on it, and then they put it in the ground. And for 4 days, they're really happy and pray together. It changed a lot of lives. I never heard anything so terrible about Sundance. The only thing I heard that was really sad about Sundance is it was taken away. They had to go in hiding for a long period of time. It didn't come back to us right there. People had to go someplace way on the sticks and continue to practice. But that was history, though. It's here now. And the tree, when we look at the tree, it reminds us, you're that tree. It's like looking at a mirror. And you see in your world, you've got a lot of beautiful colors in your body inside. There's red, black, yellow, blue, green. They're all attached to the tree and it catches your eyes. But then it comes back to you and says, yeah, I have those colors inside of myself too. I have on top of my hair, the leaves, on the bottom, the roots. They planted that tree. And it's a symbol, the story of your own life. That's what a Sundance is. When you're in trouble, you know what to do if you have the knowledge. Is you root yourself into the ground. And that's what happens. The tree can never be beaten. The tree can never be taken away. So when you turn on the music, or not the music, the TV, in the mornings and you hear the news about all the forest fires around the country, Canada, California, East Round. And the first thing that pops in you is, wow, all those beautiful trees are dying. They took them away. We ask God, how come it's like that? You know? And but deep inside, Funkashla would say, take a look at that picture again. There's another side to that. The spirit inside of them trees rooted themselves into the earth, and they're still alive today. They didn't die. In time, they will come back up again, resurface. And if another 100 years, it will still be there. So everything isn't always, it is, you don't get sidetracked by the golden leaf. The reality is that, yeah, the earth is burned up, but it's going to come back again. The trees have never died, they rooted themselves. Where do you fit in society as humans? When we're in trouble, we root ourselves to the ground and we pray, and then we will come back alive. When the time is right, you'll rise up to the beauty of your trees. You'll collect all the colors that are inside of you, the knowledge and the education, compassion and honor and respect will come back to you. But as human worlds, we are so far away from the original teachings that we don't even know there was a tree in our life. We are all related to the four-legged. Our messenger in our lives is a bird. Wakupakos oyate. Dako wakama kpia namakha yoko gle okia ya ompiko. Oyate hanatakui triumpi. Those are our relatives that fly. To this day, no one knows the limits. When a bird flies into the sky, he disappears. We guess it's resting someplace. We had no idea that they have their own world. And then when they come back to the earth, they came back to save us. A simple hummingbird or eagle or crow, we have no idea that they were here to help us live. But if you watch a bird every day, he goes to the tree and finds a seed from that tree, and he'll fly and he'll land on the earth. He says a little prayer, he digs a little hole and puts that tree, that seed inside of that ground and covers it up. In his mind, he's thinking that he's going to come back later and eat that tree, eat that seed, but he doesn't. He flies away, does the whole thing all over again. Well, in the meantime, that little seed turns into a tree. The seed refertilizes itself, and a few years later, you'll see a tree pop up from the ground. And that's the result of a bird going to work. All of our trees that pop up all over. The Lakota teaching was that the tree, as average chum, there's so many different types of tree, but they're all related. There's a spirit inside that tree that is alive like a human being. It's got ears, it's got mouth, it's got everything, the feelings. Every tree in our world, Wakankanka made it like that. That's why they take their tree and they say that it's a man. We turn that tree into a man. In our consciousness, we believe that when the Sundance tree comes to the circle, it was that man that brought the ceremony to us for 4 days. We learned the beauty of life. You don't have to dance. You can just be around it. You know, we lose ourselves so much in the teachings that just because you go to a Sundance, they think that you should be dancing, but it's not even like that. You can be around her, just be around the arbor, help out around the cook, and take care of the altar. And then you are a part of the Sundance. You are part of a sacred community. So in the 1800s, people didn't have horses. Some people, horses came. However way they traveled, they made their journeys to the place where they're going to Sundance. And I don't know if any Sundancers can verify or attest to this, but during those 4 days of Sundance, you'll probably experience, if your whole heart is in that Sundance, you'll probably feel really good. Everything is so the way it's supposed to be. Relatives shaking each other's hand, children laughter, people eating. It's almost like paradise, only for 4 days, and then we go back to the unnatural world again. But before all that ceremonies came to us, it was like that. The beauty of life was 24/7, all year round. People had gotten along with the relatives. People really lived good. So we're able that they can come back. And then we're able to renew each other's relatives. That was a lifestyle that was gone, but it's coming back now. And today is a good way of life now today. We can all pray together. That's what's beautiful of this life in the world. All nations, Washitu, Asapa, Lakota, Viola, Quechoka. It was meant for them to come back all together in one circle to pray. When people pray together, a children's life becomes better. The word for comforting our children, kiganaya, ukshikigana. But when a young boy goes to a manhood ceremony, one of the teachings he receives is ukshikigana uspichicha. Learn how to talk to children, their language. They had their language, and reinforce the rights of life. There's a way that God give us that we're supposed to talk to the women relatives. There's a way God give us that the women can talk to the men relatives, a language that was sacred. But that was the original teaching how we live our lives a long time ago. The most important achievement you can make is you watch yourself, your elder. You've reached the level, the stage. In a tree, you're in the higher level, and the elderhood. Well, no, it's on the Yaganishte. You're gonna be going home pretty soon. But our reality is that circle of life never ends. When the pipe was brought to our people, it's a wowichake. Contrary to the wichonte that's flying around, there was a good spirit that was around. If you make relatives with that, you'll probably live for a long time without any trouble. It's called wowichake. It seemed really simple when you first say it. You translate wowichake is the truthfulness. A simple word, but it's hard to live by. So sometimes you don't tell the truth because you're afraid. Along with truth, there's a fear that comes there. That, well, like I achieved this, Some of my brother-in-laws come around and say, "How do I really look?" I lied to him. So, you look all right. But the truth is really a deep word. You can't bury it. You can bury it, but it will come back alive. All of those children went to Carlisle. They left here with hope, a dream of getting education. And that was the truth. They were buried over there because they died over there. But the truth will unveil itself off the ground, above the ground, and it will come reality again. And that's what happened. The truth, they carry the truth. There were innocent children that went there. When they died, they buried them over there. They want the truth to remain hidden. But 100 years later, they resurfaced and they told the real truth is that we're in a world that we need to take good care of our children, take care of our wakam, aku wakam. So I wanted to share that kind of message this evening, and I'm very honored that I can come here to my relative's home. The blessing of reality, let's look at reality today, is that what was lost came back into our world today. It's a beautiful world. We have strong women that all over the country that help each other. We have elders. And furthermore, what was outlawed against us, we have them in our lives today. I got a Kahashi living here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I think this is St. Paul, Mr. LeBlanc, and a great spiritual leader of our people, Lakota people. My nephew here, Micah, young spiritual leader going up. That's a blessing. Those are answers that came true when our people prayed. You know, they didn't want this way of life to die. But the seed was planted into the world of our people. Now we got many spiritual leaders across the country, and that's a good thing. That's a blessing. But you also have to watch out, protect your medicine men, protect your spiritual leaders, because society will attack them. Society will come after them. If they don't get them, they'll go after their families. That's why our people, we hid our medicine men back in the 1800s. They went underground. So growing up around 1950s and 60s, I never knew there was medicine men. I was living with one of them. My grandfather was a Wakan, but he never told anybody he was a medicine. He was in hiding. And our indigenous people were so amazing that they had a code. They developed ways to protect our people, our children. So some of the people, you know, the medicine men been around, and they don't call them medicine men on the open. So they come into the world and they say, where can I find a medicine man? The Indian people say, you know, if they don't know you, they won't tell you. You really have to know somebody back in the day. But they don't even call them medicine men, they call them loanwi chasha. But if you translate loanwi chasha, it means singer. Hello, chasha. Hello, wapia we chasha wawoke, the medicine helpers. But now we don't have to do that anymore. We can hide. We don't have to hide. So it's a good world today, and we're so blessed that the ancestors made sacrifice that they didn't want to, but they had to. So today we can all openly pray. And what was really interesting is years ago, I believe it was in the 90s, a group of astronauts that went off to this explore whatever is out there. And they were determined, they had their own dreams. But I noticed that before they loaded up in that rocket, each one of those astronauts carried a sweetgrass. And I was really touched by that. The rocket didn't make it, it blew up. But everybody was horrified and sad. But I saw a different picture. That sweetgrass that they carried, those astronauts never died. Perhaps they went straight on to the spirit world and they discovered something else. And the Creator has the final say in our life. What was really Wakan is still reality today. So everything has a good side to it. Woke Elijah. Even though we don't and the bad spirit in our world, we still have our powerful love and integrity. and respect. And it's time to use them again. That to help each other out, pray, and take care of each other. Okay. That is what Lakota Wochiki is all about today. It's not always that bad in the world, you know. You don't have to always believe in David Moore or people like that when they come on the news. That's just what they get paid for, to tell you some horrifying news. But and they're good people, but that's their job. But always look at inside the Creator. You know, what does it mean? So it'll get better. It'll get better in the future. Looks like you have a stick. Oh yeah, now we'll feel like thoughts, you know. I want to thank the relatives here, Oyate Hotanin, for allowing me to come again. Oheche to Kalamaya.
So once again, Wopila Hankayichi Chapel. Thank you for joining us, and I want to thank Lexi, Richard Moosecamp, and Oyate Hotanin for hosting this. And I once again want to say that, you know, maybe, you know, all our answers aren't ahead of us; they're always behind us. So that discovery of new information is going to be very important to the health and wellness of our people. And so I just want to, you know, say, feel free to repost this and share this message with all your people on your friends list, and follow Oyate Hotanin's page, and like and follow them. And got a few other messages too. Tomorrow we have what's called Flower Power going on. It's at Mounds Park, 10 Mounds Boulevard, starting at sunrise and ends at sunset. So here's the flyer for that. Not sure if you all can read that, but if you can't read it, go to Oyate's page. And then around 5 p.m. tomorrow, we're doing the honoring for Lexi Richard at Mullins Park. So please join us in that as we honor Lexi Richard with a Strong Buffalo Award. So, and once again, thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Tom, for all the work that you guys do in the community. And that's all we have. And thank you for joining us.
When they first saw it, I thought they